guys, Kelsey here. Today we're going to be exploring pollination throughout our garden. So we're going to be looking for different pollinators and different ways that trees and plants can be pollinated. So pollination in general is just the act of transferring pollen from one flower to another. The flowers need this to happen in order to reproduce, to produce offspring, and to pass their genes along onto the next generation. So what pollinators are doing, like these butterflies flying around over here, they're looking for nectar. Some pollinators are looking for fruit within the plants, within the flowers usually. So this pollen is a powdery substance that contains the male gametes that when combined with the female parts of the flower produce seeds that need to be spread and then grow to form new plants. So the male gametes, they're found in the stamen, so in these areas of the flower. It needs to be transferred to the pistil, which is the female part of the flower. Some flowers contain both the male and female parts, and some only have one or the other. Some flowers, are generalists, meaning that they can be pollinated by a wide range of butterflies, birds, bees, whatever, while some are specialists. So there's maybe only one certain species of butterfly that's able to pollinate a certain kind of flower. So join us for the rest of our pollination exploration.
One of the most well-known pollinators are butterflies. They are attracted to bright and beautiful colored flowers. So over there are some orange flowers. And what they do is they use their proboscis, which is a long, almost nose-like mouth part that they use to reach in and suck the nectar out of flowers. And then bees are the most common pollinator, and you probably see them all around. They jump back and forth to many different flowers. Here's a great example of a flower that bees pollinate, the Spanish needle. And what bees do is they crawl into the flower to eat the nectar, and as they're in there, they pick up some of the pollen on their fuzzy bodies, and then that's how they spread the pollen to other flowers. An insect that can be found here at the garden, the dragonfly, as you might see around me, it's actually a common misconception that they are pollinators because they actually don't eat nectar at all. They actually feast on other insects. So they can be found around a lot of flowers or environments like this because they're looking for the other insects that are feasting on the nectar. Hummingbirds can also be found in this area here at our north side pond at the garden. Hummingbirds have a long beak that helps them to go inside of tube-like flowers to suck out the nectar that way. They can also do this while flying. So often you'll see a hummingbird flapping around as it's going from flower to flower, helping to pollinate.
So here we're going to talk about nocturnal pollinators. So there are some species of flower that only bloom at nighttime. Most have a white or pale colored flower that's able to reflect the moonlight and attract certain pollinators. A lot of them also have extra fragrant flowers because nocturnal pollinators, because they don't have such a great sense of sight, they use their smell to navigate the world. So right behind me here we have an example of a flower that is night blooming and relies on nocturnal pollinators in order to pollinate. This is a sea poison. You can learn a lot more about this species by watching our species spotlight, also in our Google classrooms. But you'll notice over here we have some buds, some blooms that are eventually going to become flowers. And of course, they're not blooming right now because it's currently the middle of the day. But whenever they do bloom, there'll be a white, kind of fuzzy looking flower that will attract different things like maybe moths or bats that are going to pollinate at nighttime. Now, moths, again, are nocturnal. They have a strong sense of smell, so they are looking for extra fragrant flowers. For example, plumerias or frangipanis, which are common down here, are extra fragrant at night, and a lot of them are a white color, so they could attract moths really easily. They have a hairy underbelly similar to bees that catches all that pollen and then is able to transfer it to the next flower. And there are actually more species of moths than butterflies. Moths are active at night, so we don't see them quite as often because usually we're asleep. But some moths we have here include hawk moths, tiger moths, and silk moths. Now another species that's a common nocturnal pollinator are bats. We've got a couple of species of bats down here. There's over 500 plants worldwide that rely on bats to be their pollinators. Chiropterophily is the act of pollination by bats. There's a whole science behind it. Now most bats that we have down here are actually insectivores, so just like those dragonflies, they eat insects. So they're not actually pollinating, but there are species of fruit-eating or nectar bats. So some of those down here include the Cuban fig-eating bat and also the Buffy flower bat. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you learned a lot about pollination today.